Hey, shalom, brothers and sisters. Adam here with Parable of the Vineyard. Wanted to say Happy New Year to all of you out there, regardless of what calendar you keep. And some of you may be asking, why are we talking about the New Year? I thought that was 6 months ago in the fall. So I'd like to address that and a few things of a special time that we're in right now leading up to Passover. So let's get started real quickly with the scriptures. Numbers 10:10 says, "Also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days and at the beginning of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets or shofars over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim." Just in case you're new, we understand the Father's name to be pronounced Yahweh. Some say Yahweh, some say Yehovah, many other. That's just how we understand it. And so let's just blow a shofar together. If you've got a shofar handy, just blow it. And yeah, praise Yah. So we call that road shofar. So let's keep going. There's a couple things on my mind I'd like to share regarding the new year. So let's talk about Exodus 12:1-3, and says this, "And Yahweh spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak you unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house." So the reason I read till verse 3 is to let you know that what month this is talking about. Obviously, this is talking about the Passover. And so he's telling us, the Most High is telling us, the first month in spring, and of course the Hebrew calendar, depending on what calendar you're on, is anywhere in the March to April time frame. It depends, of course, by year to year. And so some of you may be like, well, most people celebrate Rosh Hashanah in the fall with the Feast of Trumpets, the first day of the 7th month. And you may ask yourself, well, why did it change? Because the Most High clearly said that the beginning of months is going to be in the springtime. Well, how did it go to fall? I'll leave some links for you. Long story short right here, Rosh Hashanah wasn't always the new year. Here's the Jewish holidays history. Right here, much of today's Rosh Hashanah traditions originated with Babylonian worship. And so, long story short, they changed the Father's word to begin the year, or the beginning of the year, the head of the year, would actually is supposed to be in spring, but they moved it later on till fall. I'll let you do your own research on that. But what I really want to talk about here is, once again, we have traditions of men that have crept into the faith, and Messiah was never shy to rebuke these things. Matthew 15:6-9, and it says, "And honor not his father and his mother, he shall be free. Thus you have made the commandment of Elohim of none effect by your tradition." So what man-made traditions have been doing is basically replacing what the Father told us to do. "You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draws close to me with their mouth and honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching the doctrines, the commandments of men." And so having the new year in fall is a commandment of men. It's changing how the Father wants things done, much like we see in a lot of mainstream Christianity. Instead of keeping the feast days, they keep Christmas and Easter, which are not commanded, of course, things that are mixed with pagan traditions. And likewise, Judaism has changed a lot of the Father's word. That's why we see Messiah specifically going toe-to-toe with the religious leaders of the time, saying, hey, your traditions, they're not from the Father. And so anyways, this is not any different. So a lot of us know that Passover is coming up very soon. Of course, once the first month of the year begins, Passover is 14 days away. And so I wanted to share one thing that we're all pretty familiar with, those of us that are keeping the commandments of the Most High, specifically the feast days. It says, 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. The point is, I think a lot of us understand that we need to get rid of our leavened breads out of our homes. But there's a lot more to just that. And our Messiah tells us here. Let's read a little passage in Matthew 16. We'll read 5-12. "And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Yahusha," that's just how we understand the Son of the Most High's name. Some say Yeshua, Yahushua, many others. "So then Yahusha said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." A very specific word used. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It's because we have taken no bread. Which when Yahusha perceived, he said unto them, O you of little faith, why reason you among yourselves, because you have brought no bread? Do you not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up? Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many baskets you took up? He's like, through the power of the Father, I've created this miracle bread. Why would I chastise you or say something about you not bringing bread? How is it that you do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, but that you should be aware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade them not to be aware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And what was the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees? It's what we saw earlier in Matthew 15. It was the traditions of men that outweighed or did away with the commandments of the Most High. And so this head of the year, New Year, is just one of the many things that has been changed by this religion. And by the way, when I speak about these things, in no way, shape, or form am I speaking about a person or an individual. I'm solely talking about doctrine at this time. And so as the new moon, the new year is here. I know some of you have different calendars. So as the new year is here, and as we get closer to Passover, Pesach, and so let's just not focus about getting the physical leaven out of our house, but how about the spiritual leaven? How about these teachings and doctrines of men that come from mainstream Christianity and from Judaism? Matter of fact, some of you may know or may not know my testimony. I actually grew up in Judaism, so I know a firsthand account of where a lot of these doctrines lead. And I believe, I may be wrong, I believe that the Father's put it on my heart to encourage the body of Messiah, those who have the testimony of Yahusha and keep the commandments of Elohim, to come out of her, to come out of the mother of all harlots. The original, I know the whole world acts like Babylon, America, Rome, all that. But there's one original harlot that strayed away from the Father. And it's through these doctrines that still permeate today. Because think about it. Through Judaism, if you look it up, Judaism, it comes from Pharisaic religion. And so my question to you is, if Messiah was rebuking those traditions 2,000 years ago, and the people that remained hardened in their sin and rejected him, do you think the problem has gotten better or worse in 2,000 years? I'll let you answer that. But what I'd like to get at the heart at is, why are we leaning on a group of people that reject the Son of the Most High for our doctrine and how we worship the Father? I believe it's a time to go back to the Word and away from these traditions of men. 1 Corinthians 5:7-8, Purge out therefore the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, as you are unleavened. For even Messiah, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast, not with the old leaven, so not with the old doctrine, neither with the leaven, the doctrine of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. Those of you that know your scriptures out there, Psalm 119, 142 defines truth as the Torah, the law of the Most High. I'd like to also share a couple other things with you. So when thinking about this is a time for introspection. And what introspection means is contemplation of one's own thoughts, feelings, self-examination, the act of looking inward, a view of the inside or interior, specifically the act of directly observing the states and processes of one's own mind, examination of one's own thoughts. And so we know that that Messiah also rebuked the Pharisees. He called them whited sepulchres. He's like, on the outside you look all shiny and white and beautiful, but on the inside you're full of dead man's bones and hypocrisy and all iniquity. And so leading up to Passover, let's really examine our walks and ask ourselves, honestly, are we walking in traditions of men? And not just that, there's much more to that. Are we walking in sin? What's our mind thinking about? What's our heart thirsting after? These are the things that I think we should ask ourselves leading up to Passover, because Paul has some pretty stern words for people who eat the Passover unworthily. Now, we're getting ready to read 1 Corinthians 11:23-29. It is debated. Some people say this is specifically talking about the Passover. Some people say it's just it's something else. But I believe it's talking about the Passover, so let's read it. It says, "For I have received of the master that which also I delivered unto you, that the master Yahusha, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is of my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This is the cup of the New Testament in my blood. This do you, as often as you drink it, in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the master's death till he come. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the master unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the master. So here it is. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eats and drinks unworthily eats and drinks damnation to himself, not discerning Yahweh's body." So I don't know about you, but I don't want to be guilty of eating and drinking of. I believe this is talking about the Passover. I could be wrong, and I'm sure if you believe I am, you'll let me know about it. But nevertheless, I think it's just good, wise words to examine ourselves before the Passover. So the next couple weeks, I think this is a great time to do so. I'm going to look up the Greek word here for examine. It's the Greek word dokimazo, and it says to prove or to try or to prove or discern, allow, examine. So it's to test. So Paul's saying to test yourself, examine yourself, prove yourself, scrutinize yourself, right? To recognize as genuine after examination, to approve, deem worthy. So I don't know about you. I think this is a great time for introspection and looking inward and saying, hey, are there some things that we need to do? And Psalm 26, David said, "Examine me, O Yahweh, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart." So just a short little thing I wanted to share with you. Just we'll end on this because we did see that with the new year or the new month, we're supposed to bring an offering. Hebrews 13:13 through 16 gives us a little heads up on what that offering could look like. "So let us go forth, therefore, unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. For we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come." Right? The temple's destroyed. Jerusalem has been destroyed. We're waiting for New Jerusalem, the renewed one. We seek the city to come. "By him, therefore," Messiah, "let us offer the sacrifice of praise to Elohim continually. That is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. But to do good and to communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices Elohim is well pleased." So, brothers and sisters, hey, blessings to you. I pray that you have an amazing Passover, and I pray that it's time for some introspection. So, shalom.